Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ramsey and I am really excited about what we have for you today. But before that, I'd like to mention that just recently I got some n8n gear. I feel really excited about it because it's true fandom. Basically, I got it when I attended the Nairobi n8n network hackathon. I think it was on September the 13th. It was really cool. They had this cool setup where they had a bunch of developers and then they had the business community, people from the business community, and the people from the business community were talking about some of their problems. And the n8n and other types of developers would team up around them and try to build some kind of prototype that solves that problem in, like, I don't know, 4 hours or something, because it started at 10 and ended at 4 p.m. So if you take away all the formalities and lunch, then it comes to about 4 hours. And there were some really cool builds. And we got gear at the end. If you're in Nairobi and you'd like to join the Nairobi n8n community, I'm gonna drop a link to the LinkedIn community, the LinkedIn page of the community, and you can join it and you can be informed whenever we have the next event. Anyway, so what are we going to do today? Today we are going to look at something pretty cool, which is social media curation. And basically the idea is, say you had an agent, like this is something you would do normally. If you get a lot of like random news from around the internet like me, then sometimes you like it so much, you want to convert it into a post for social media, whatever social media platform, and maybe get an image for it, generated or one that you created yourself, and then you want to post it, right? So what if you had an agent that went out, got news for you, figured out what was interesting, and then created post articles, did some deep research, summarized everything, created post articles, and then generated an image, and then maybe posted them somewhere for your own review. One of the big problems with this though is that how do you kind of get it to do the right prompt each time? And this is something that I have faced trouble with, and it's something that I'm sure a lot of you have faced trouble with, which is how do you get those prompts standardized so you have a similar style coming out every time, and also so that the image generated is relevant to the post, and you don't have like random rookie mistakes to just make it so obvious that what you're doing is AI slop. That's what I'm gonna walk you through today. It's going to be a demo. So I'm just gonna go walk you through the workflow nodes and all of that. We're not gonna build it because I already did it. It's a lot of work to build, but I will share the workflow template. I will share the Google Sheets. I'll share whatever I think you're gonna need to be able to build it yourself. And you can, expand it, improve it, whatever you want. But for the specific example, we are going to start with Hacker News, which is one of my favorite sites. I go there to know whatever's happening in the tech world. I have a Hacker News page here, and I can literally see the first post is about sending images over DNS. I think I actually read this. It was about cutting images into little packets and then sending them over DNS to avoid DNS blocking and whatnot. But I would generally look at this, like maybe I'd click on this and then I'd see the post and I'd really like it and I'd want to sort of do some more research and then summarize this and then make it into a post and then generate images for it, right? Well, there's a way to automate that. But the hardest problem is, how do you standardize that? So the first thing you need to think about, and we're going to look at that even before we go into the actual build, is what are the parts of an image that really give character to it? Some might say the style of the image, the conceptual style, or the archetype of, say, the characters in the image, like is it a male in his 40s or a female in her 40s? Are they African American or South Asian, etc., etc.? If it's like something else, you're like, is it cyberpunk / futuristic? Is it something else? Is it like an abstract visualization type image, and so on? So you kind of need to break down the kinds of images you want in terms of their abstract components. And then the other one is the visual framing. What kind of camera would we be using? What kind of camera lens? What kind of lighting do we want? What kind of mood, etc. And the trick to it is, first of all, getting the right data. Getting the right image presets set up either in a spreadsheet or a database, and then based off of that, being able to standardize the prompts that you make for image generation. I do have such a sheet and I'll walk you through it, but before that, I'm going to actually go through the steps in the workflow. So here you can see that I have some stuff coming in. I've got a tracking sheet here, and you've got like some posts with a timestamp, the post copy, the image URL. Like this one is about the internet traffic being blocked. Like if most internet traffic is blocked, could you use the web's own address book to smuggle out data? It's not a standard feature, but a technique called DNS tunneling makes it possible by encoding image data into text and sending it across numerous DNS queries. While this method is highly inefficient and slow, it has a niche in cybersecurity for exfiltrating data from restricted networks that might block other traffic but leave DNS requests open. Well, you don't really have to understand what all of that is saying, but you can tell, for example, that the kind of image that you're getting out of it makes sense because we have it here, and I'm just going to click on that and we'll see. Right, you see text fragments, image file, etc., reassembled image, and so on. You can have the same one. This is about the H-1B visas, $100,000 fee. So will companies pivot to hiring domestically or whatever? It has an image, I'm sure. You may argue whether this is like accurate or not, or relevant or not, but you can see it's pretty decent, right? And then we've got another one here. So Rust, the programming language being used in Git, and they're talking about like products like Git Oxide and so on. And the image for that is this one, which does give the sense of data and so on. It even has the name Git Oxide in it. And so like this is because of proper standardization in the prompting. And for this particular one, we're going to use GPT-5's image generation feature, okay? So that's going to be loads of fun. But anyway, let's get into the workflow and then we'll understand a little bit more of this as we go. So first of all, I mean, you could have this in a schedule. You could have an actual RSS trigger node. There's so many different types of triggers you could use. Like if you go for RSS, there's the feed trigger, which gets triggered every time a new post comes in to whatever RSS feed you're pulling from. For those who don't know what RSS is, it's the really simple syndication or something. It's a way for you to get data from a website in a structured format that you can then do all sorts of stuff with your code, or in this case, with your n8n automation. I have a manual trigger just for the purposes of this demo, and you'll see that this is a very bare bones demo, but it does open up the opportunities for you to customize it and improve it and expand it in whatever way you like. So I've got an execute workflow manual trigger, and then I'm reading the news from Hacker News. The specific link for Hacker News' RSS feed is hnrss.org. I'm pulling from the front page right now, so I added a / and then front page for that. And you can see I'm getting some interesting stuff here, right? I'm getting some pretty interesting stuff here. Visa holders on vacation, what else? Stuff about images over DNS, pretty much the same stuff that we are seeing on the main page, right? And then after that, I did add a limits node here, which is a really decent node in n8n when you're doing tests and you want to limit the sort of data that's passing through. Just because either you don't want to eat up your credits if you're calling an API, or you want things to move faster because all you want to do is make sure that things work. So the limit node reduces the number of items coming from Hacker News' RSS from 20 to 5, right? And then we've got an AI node here, which all it does is categorize. And you know, that all starts here. So I picked a few tech category styles. I picked up AI, machine learning, hardware, gadgets, software dev tools, cybersecurity, business of tech, Web3 blockchain, and science and research. And you can see I'm linking them to specific conceptual styles and specific visual framing styles, but we'll get to that in a bit. The important thing is to have your tech categories neatly organized in a Google Sheet, because that's where everything is going to start. So the point of this is that, and you can see it here in the system prompt, the AI node, all it's supposed to do is classify the content. And if it can't find a specific content, it's supposed to simply classify it as none. I've given it an example JSON, which is really good when you require specific structured output from your AI. And all it has to do is have a key category and a value, which is the assigned category. and I have a user node here where I give it the specific categories that it should pick from, which come from the Google Sheet. And I'm telling it that if the article does not fit into any of these categories, to use the value none. Then I give it the title of the article, which I'm pulling from the limit node in this case, but they're originally coming from Hacker News. And I give it the content of the article, for which I use the content snippet. Specifically, when I'm pulling from Hacker News, the content is going to be in HTML form, and the content snippet is going to be pure text. So I prefer to use the content snippet for that purpose. You can see it does some pretty cool stuff, does business of text, software dev tools. It has one that's categorized none. So you know that's not going to be considered later on. This is where your AI is doing some intelligent filtering. Now, once you're done with that, you're going to create a JSON object. I have a set node, and the idea here is because all I'm getting out of the AI node is the category for each, but I want to have the article title, I want to have the article content, and the article category. So a set node is just going to pull things from previous nodes. In this case, it pulls the article title from the limit node, which has the title right here. And it pulls the article content from the content snippet of the limit node, where the text content is, right? And then what else do we have? The article category. That's going to come from the AI node immediately preceding it. It's going to pull the category, and then this just enables us to have, like, if you look at it in table format, a neat arrangement of what we need for the next stage. Now we have a filter node right here. I do tend to have this habit where, like, if you're in a node, you can just go to the next node by either going to the far right or the previous node by going to the far left. But it's good to also see the thing in the canvas. So next we filter items that are not matching our chosen categories. And for this we use a filter node. Basically I just tell it, filter out anything where the article category is not equal to. For this you choose strings, right? Strings is not equal to. And remember I told it to do none. And so I put in the value of none right here. And so anything that's categorized as none is not going to go. So we see that it discarded one item right here, which had an article category of none, and it kept 4 of them. And now we can do some magic. We have a research and summarize agent. This is an agent where the model, I use OpenRouter, by the way. OpenRouter is awesome because it gives you access to lots of different models. And in this case, I'm using Gemini 2.5 Pro. If you want to know, by the way, how to set up credentials for some of these nodes, like for example, in this case, the OpenRouter, there is documentation on n8n's website on how to connect OpenRouter. It's as simple as sharing an API key. And I think I will include the links to the n8n documentation so you can do that. Maybe one of these fine days, because I have done a previous episode on how to do Zoho OAuth credentials. I might do one of these episodes where we just go through some of the most used nodes and we look at how you can get the credentials. Or you could go on YouTube, where we are right now, hopefully, and look for credentials videos where they explain how to do credentials for all sorts of nodes. The information is out there. For this specific one, I want us to focus on the process of social media curation and image generation. Okay? So anyway, where were we? Researching and summarizing. So it does use Gemini 2.5 via OpenRouter, and it also uses Perplexity for research. To set up the Perplexity thing, you just need the API key, which you can get from Perplexity. I think Perplexity does have different models here and different API keys. Let's see if you go to like quick start, overview. Where's that overview? So this is always my Wi-Fi acting up, but I'm just going to check again, go to the models, and it is loading, so we're gonna wait for a minute. Could you try putting the router a little closer to the door? It might not be picking from the living room router so well. Sometimes it does that. Let's see. let's quick start. So I want to go to models. Is it like a Perplexity thing? Yes, it's right here. Okay, so models, and then we can go to overview. Yeah, right. So I'm back. So I'm, router issues, Wi-Fi issues. Anyway, so you've got like on Perplexity, you can see here that basically, and you can just copy this curl. If I click on see all 12 lines, you go to Perplexity chat, perplexity.ai/chat/completions. And then you've got a header auth where you have the key authorization and then the bearer followed by your API key. One cool way you can do this without clicking on send headers is just go to authentication, choose generic credential type, and then choose header auth. And then now you can literally have, in this case, the name is authorization, just like it shows here. And then the value will be bearer space and then your API key. I'm not going to show you that, but this helps you to hide your credentials very well. And then we've got send a body, and then you've got the JSON of the body. In this case, I just have a very simple JSON where we have the model. In this case, I'm using Sonar Pro, and then a messages array, which has a JSON object inside it with a role key, which is user, and a content key, which is this: you're a brilliant research assistant, research and answer all questions in detail, and provide authoritative sources for reference. And then I include these are just simple things where you're trying to, it's like having the carriage return character. So instead of pressing enter, you just include a / and n, because you can't use enter in an API request. The HTTP protocol won't understand that. It's going to error out. And then you have the from AI feature. From AI allows you to plug in the specific input that you want coming in from your AI agent. So it intelligently knows how to use that tool. So in this case, the AI just needs to give in the search query, right? And then what else? We have the actual agent, and its system prompt is here. You're an expert tech analyst. Your goal is to take an article's title and content snippet, formulate a search query, use the provided Perplexity research tool to gather deep context, and then distill that information into a structured summary. And I give it some more instructions, which you'll see because I'll share the JSON for this, and example output. It's always good if you expect your AI to give out specific output, to give it an example of the type of output it's supposed to give. And then once you come back here to the node, you would toggle this on where it says require specific output format. In the user prompt, I just have please research the following topic, and then I give it the article title and the article content snippet. So it uses Perplexity, it verifies outputs via the structured output parser, and basically, as you can see here, the expected output is a summary, key takeaways, and a hook question, like an engaging question related to the topic that will draw a reader in. And you can see it's giving some decent output here. It's giving summaries, key takeaways, hook questions for all of these. I'm not going to go through whether they're actually accurate or not. A lot of that is in the prompting, and you can, tinker around with the AI prompts a little bit. It's about the general structure of the automation. Once you're done, we're going to have a set node that now puts everything together. So you can see from the AI node, we're getting the summary, key takeaways, and hook question. But we also want the article title, we want the article context, and then we want the summary, blah, 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 and the article category at the end. So the set node just pulls these out from the respective nodes where they appear. Like this one comes from the filter out items. Same as for this one. The summary comes from the immediately preceding node. The key takeaways and hook question also come from the immediately preceding node. And then the category comes out from the filter out items. And now you have an entire JSON object with everything you need in one place. What do we do then? Now we start the magic with Google Sheets. First, because all these articles have the article category, you pull in and then you go to Google Sheets where you do get rows. If I were to do this manually right now, just go to Google Sheets here. Where is that? Google Sheets, right? And then I go to get rows in sheet. That's the kind of thing you're looking for, right? Right there. I'm just going to delete that, but it's exactly what I did. I've got it right here as get rows, and then I go specifically, of course you'll do your credentialing again, and I'll go specifically to my prompt presets sheet. That's this sheet. And which particular tab am I going to be looking at? I'm going to be looking at the tech category skills. That's this tech category style, sorry, that's this one. So you go in there and you pull, basically you're matching, you go into the tech category styles and then you're matching against the tech category. So you go to filters, you add a filter, just like that, and then you pick a column and it's going to pull the columns from your sheet. In this case, the column I was interested in is tech category. And once you have that column, then you can pull in the article category from the preceding node. And it's going to give you a lot of information here: the row number, the tech category, the primary conceptual style, the primary visual framing, and the secondary visual framing. I just had it as each tech category gets a primary visual frame and a secondary visual frame. You can give it just one frame or whatever. But you know, initially when I was thinking of this, building the prototype, I was like, maybe you want several options so you can compare different types of images. Really, it doesn't matter, because in the end, when I finally built it out, I only used one visual framing style. But you get this information. This is important because you're going to use the conceptual style to pull in the description from the conceptual styles table, where you'll be storing your conceptual styles, which you can also add to over time. And the visual framing style from the visual framing style table, where you've got the framing name, the lens and lighting. Like for macro detail shots, it says 100mm lens, soft focus lights on a single object, and the mood, it says detailed, focused, intricate. You can have AI actually help you generate such tables if you're not particularly knowledgeable about camera lenses and lightings and all of that, or conceptual styles. The point is, you need to organize these presets in a way that you can then standardize the prompting for your AI image prompt generator further down the road. So I've got this getting the tech categories, and now I'm going to use these later. I've got two nodes coming out of it. One gets the conceptual style, and basically you can see I'm using the same get rows type of node, and it goes to the conceptual styles tab, same prompt presets sheet, and then it pulls the column of the style name and matches it to the primary conceptual style. In this case, there's only one conceptual style, the primary conceptual style, and it tells you that, for example, the first item is the photorealistic one, and it gives you a nice description right there. And then I have another one going to the get visual framing details. Again, get rows in sheet, go to the same sheet, prompt presets, and then the visual framing tab. That will be this particular tab. And now you can kind of match. So you go to the column framing name, that will be this one. And then you can go to that column and match against the primary visual framing one. For this one, because I still wasn't sure whether I wanted to use one or two visual frames, I do have filters. And you can see here, they tell you can combine filters. And you can either do it as and or. If it's and, then both of those filters, or however many they are, have to be true. If it's or, then either one can be true, or the other can be true, or both, or all of them can be true, right? So I've got the primary visual framing under the framing name, I'm checking for that, or the secondary visual framing. And so for that, it does give me like 8 items for these 4 news items, which is pretty interesting, and it made my work a lot more complicated further down the road, but we'll get to that. You could just choose one visual framing style, and if you do that, then you won't need the code node that I added to my workflow a little further. Or you may not need it to be as complicated as it currently is. But anyway, it does give you information for both visual framing styles. I then convert, I get a merge node that simply appends all of these inputs. This merge node isn't doing much. The point is to just have like one kind of output from multiple inputs, so I can feed my code node where I'm going to organize these variables to then give to my social media posts generator, right? And the idea here, as you can see in this code node, it's in JavaScript because that's my strength personally, that and Ruby, but they don't have a Ruby code node in n8n. So And basically what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the summary key takeaways and hook questions. I'm grabbing the category style. I'm grabbing the conceptual style details, including the description, because they are coming from the sheet notes. You can see here, you get back both the style name and the description. And so I'm kind of grabbing that in the code node, as well as the visual framing details. And then basically I'm organizing them so that my output has the original article, which is going to have the summary, key takeaways, and hook question. And you'll see this code when I share the workflow JSON in the description. So you can like take it apart if you're like into code and stuff. Or you could also have AI just explain really well what you want. You can have Claude generate this code for you. You could have Claude generate the whole workflow for you, but where's the fun in that? Because when you have AI generate the entire workflow template for you, it doesn't understand some of the nuance in your thinking and some of the edge cases. So it's usually easier to have the general concept and then have the AI help you build, which is what I do. You know, like a kind of collaboration, and you can have it fill in the code for you. But anyway, you get the original article with a summary, the key takeaways, and the hook question. You get the conceptual style name for that particular news item, the description for the conceptual style, and the primary frame name, the primary frame camera, and the primary frame mood, just like it appears, you know, in the Google Sheet. And then you get the secondary frame name, secondary frame camera. So if you just choose one visual framing style, you're not gonna have to do this, and you might have to remove some of the code earlier. It'll be much easier, but you know, here we are. And then you just return it as one JSON object. You can actually see it right here. You have an article title, article content, summary, key takeaways, hook question, category, conceptual style name, description, and the same for the visual framing styles. Why is this important? Because then we get to the social media post generator. Oh, thank you. We get to the social media post generator, which uses Google Gemini via OpenRouter, has a structured output parser, and you can see now in the system prompt what I ask it to do. You're an expert social media content strategist and a master prompt engineer for generative AI images. So analyze content, where you read the provided article, summary, key takeaways, and hook question. Generate post copy, so you create a single engaging social media post, start with the hook question, and then use the key takeaways to write a concise and informative body. And then generate image prompts. You may choose between the primary and secondary visual styles and create a prompt for whichever you choose. I know, overly convoluted. I could have just chosen one visual framing style. But again, where's the fun in that? And then the prompt must synthesize the article's core summary. Besides, if you have like two and you give the LLM a chance to choose, you could actually run tests where you compare how many times it uses the primary versus the secondary, and you can kind of like give you insight into weirdly what AI's preferences are. So you tell it to generate the image prompt, and you tell it the prompt must synthesize the article's core summary with the provided conceptual and visual framing details. And the prompt should be detailed, descriptive, and optimized for a model like GPT-5 image. One of the things I did notice is that if you tell it specifically after, do not include any instructions to include texts in the prompts, the images turn out better. If you don't include that, some of those images are going to have like weirdly misspelled names. This reduces if you tell it don't instruct the image generator to use words, you know? And then you give it a format output. So the final output must be a JSON object with the keys post copy, primary image prompt, and secondary image prompt. Actually, it should just be image prompt. Weirdly, it still did the job pretty well because, I don't know. But ideally, it should be an image prompt because I decided to let it use either the primary or the secondary visual styles. So, and then you give it an example of JSON, right? And that kind of example is what you'll include in your structured output parser down here as well. Remember, it starts with toggling this on, and then you're gonna have like a little thing here for the output parser. And when you add, you can then get the structured output parser, which is right here. That's what I always use. Gives you some pretty interesting outputs. So you've got the output, which is the post copy, and the image prompt, right? That's what you want. After that, we get into a loop. So you use the loop over items. If you just type in loop here, you can see it. And basically the next step, which is pretty interesting, is you go to the generate post image. And for this, I'm using GPT-5 or GPT-1 image, actually. That's what it's called over API. I like to think of it as GPT-5's image generation because I can get it in ChatGPT. But if you go to platform.openai, OpenAI, actually it's OpenAI GPT-1 image API. You can see some details about how that works. So it's on platform.openai. So you can see here that they do share, this is under Python. So what I want is the image API, and I want to use the curl version, which shows you how to use it via API. So the URL is https://api.com/v1/images/generations. And then you have to send a header. That's what this -h means, with the key authorization and then bearer followed by your OpenAI API key. Of course, there's a content type, which weirdly n8n's HTTP node does automatically. And then you specify the model as GPT-image-1, and then you just give it a prompt, right? And that's exactly what we do here. We go to that particular endpoint. The method, of course, is post, as you'll see here. So you need to change the method to post. And then you have the URL. Again, I use header auth. So for header auth, it's authorization. Then for value, it's bearer space, your API key. And then I send, okay, so I do send headers here saying content type is application JSON, but really, most of the time, the HTTP node can do it for you. And you can see the instructions for that are right here, content type application/JSON. And then of course I toggle on send body content type is JSON. I use the fields. I indicate the model as GPT-1, and then I include a field for prompt, so you can like keep adding parameters, names and values. And then for the prompt, I just pull the image prompt from the output, and it does its thing. What it actually does is it returns to you something called base64 encoded data. And that's just going to look like a really long string of numbers. And that's why we have another one, which is converting an image to a file. Now I've renamed it as creating the image file, but really it's the convert to file node, and then you'd go for move base64 string to file. So this creates the image file out of the base64 string right here. So you pull in the data, which is the B64 JSON from the GPT-1 image generator, and then you have the image right there. And now you can, view the image if you want in here, but basically, you have the correct file. Next, we're gonna upload an image file. This is the drive, Google Drive upload file node, where you connect your credentials, resources file, upload, input name is data or whatever. In this case, it's actually supposed to be image. Really doesn't matter, image, data, whatever. And then the file name, etc. And you can fill in some other stuff. So this is just like one that I put out to show you how it works, but like I do have that stuff here. So it's image. Actually, the input name should be the specific input coming in. And then for the file name, I do use the current timestamp. So, $now.to format, and then the specific format. So it does give you the current date and time. So, if you look at n8n docs, there's a specific, I think it's called Lux, the Lux time module, which you can use to get the dates and times. I'm gonna give you a link to that. You can just like go through it. But, for your purposes, if you go through the workflow JSON that I share, you're going to get this specific code that you can then use and play around with. And then parent drive is my drive or whatever drive you're using. And the parent folder, in this case, I use by URL simply because I do know the URL. So I just like created a folder for images, and then I have like a URL here. So I just copy that and paste it in. But you can share by URL or by ID. The ID in this case would be this string of numbers that comes here at the end. So whatever makes you happy, And it uploads and it returns some interesting stuff. Where you'd be able to view the image online is the web view link, which is one of the response items. And that's actually really important because then we're going to use that web view link under the set image file permissions node. Now this is just a Google Drive share node. There you go, share file. So there is where you can have the file, and you can have by URL or from list or by ID, and then just, have it in there. And you can set the types of permissions that you want. In this case, I have it by URL. I pull in the web view link, and then I have the role as, reader, type anyone, file discovery. You can set whatever settings you want in there. There's even like further options, like you could email someone, you could move to new owners route, send notification, whatever. And you execute the step, and you've got that. And now we need to post it to Sheets. So we've got the Google Sheet in here, right? And the specific tracking sheet has the timestamp column, post copy, and image URL. So I set up a set node that just gets these so that it's easier to post. And you can see it's pulling the timestamp is actually just the current timestamp. Not the same as whatever I used to upload the image. It's just the current timestamp at the time that the set node runs, which I'm going to put in here as the timestamp. And then we have the post copy, which is coming from the loop over items node here. You can see it's pulling out post copy. And the image URL is also coming from, it's not coming from the loop over items, but the upload image file node, where I pull in the web view link. And when you set these, then you have the add post data to sheet. Now for this one, it's Google Sheets, and then it's append row in sheet. That's the specific one I'm using. You could pick the ID or the URL. In this case, I picked the URL. And then now I'm adding the post data to the sheet. For the post data, we know here that we're getting a timestamp, post copy, and image URL. And basically for that, I have this set node right before that just gets that, the timestamp, post copy, and image URL. For the timestamp, again, I use the Lux time module. So $now, and then I format it. And the post copy comes from the loop over items node because it has that. And the image URL just comes from where I uploaded the image file. So I use the web view link, pretty much. And then I post the data to the sheet. So for this, you use a Google Sheet node. So Google Sheets node, and then you go for append row in sheet. That's the specific one I chose. So you can see here, it says operation is append row. From list, again, I pick my prompt presets sheet. And then I go for the tracking sheet tab, specifically this one. By the way, you could do all of this with a database if you want. Even for the uploading, you don't have to upload it to Google Drive. You could upload it to, Dropbox or your AWS instance. I think it's called an S3 bucket or whatever. You can pick it anywhere. The point is to kind of get the idea of the workflow so you could implement it, and you can swap out these different APIs for whatever you want. So I've got the add post data, and then now I just, I map each column manually, and I pull in the timestamp, I pull in the post copy, and I pull in the image URL, and it tells me when it's done. And we loop through, and afterwards it sends a message. So I haven't triggered this yet. I'm not sure if I should, but I'm pretty sure it's going to trigger a lot of the other stuff because I have been randomly changing stuff. But at the end, it is supposed to send me an email. Please execute the whole workflow rather than just the node. Execution data is too low. Yeah, so basically I have to execute the whole workflow. And given the kinds of camera glitches I'm having right now, I'm not gonna do that. Just know that it works because I've done this so many times, so I know when it works and I set the node up correctly. But the send message node, anyway, if you were doing Gmail, just to give you an overview, you would go for send a message. I'm just gonna close this error. Gmail. You'd go for send a message. That's right down here. And for that, you'd set up your credentials, you'd enter the to email, the subject, the email type, HTML or text, and then the specific message. So what I did in this case, because I know it works, is because I know everything here is correct. I have that, I have the subject, I choose a very simple email type, which is text, and then for the messages that it's post complete, check them out at, and then I include the URL to my tracking sheet. And that's pretty much it. And with that, with a similar concept, you could have several RSS nodes You could, overpower this. You could play around with the prompts. You could have a much more sophisticated tracking system. The really interesting concept is to understand that getting consistent image types starts with how you break down the kinds of prompts, the kinds of images you want into different styles and frames and shot type presets, different presets that you can then incorporate into the instructions for the image prompts generator so that it's more consistent. Are we good? We're good. So what do you think about this? Let me hear your thoughts. What kind of other automations you'd like to see built, and some of the problems you're facing, in your own day-to-day tasks. And we can talk about it later. Otherwise, until next time, bye-bye.